Picture this. You're 22, you open Instagram, and somehow it feels like everyone has a girlfriend, except you. But is that actually reality, or just the world's most convincing illusion? The real numbers for men under 25 are far more surprising than most people imagine, and they completely change how you see dating in 2020-26. Today, we're digging into reliable research, social trends, and the psychology behind relationships to answer one simple question. What percentage of boys under 25 actually have girlfriends? The answer might make you rethink everything you assumed. Let's start with the number everyone wants to know. If you expected that 80 or 90% of guys under 25 have girlfriends, you're in for a surprise. Across large surveys in the United States and several other developed countries, the reality is much lower. The exact percentage changes depending on how you define having a girlfriend. Are we talking about exclusive relationships, casual dating, or simply seeing someone? That's why you'll find different numbers from organizations like the Pew Research Center and National Health Surveys. But here's the pattern that almost every reliable study agrees on. A surprisingly large share of young men under 25 are single. In fact, in recent years, Pew Research reported that around 6 in 10 men under 30 describe themselves as single. That doesn't mean they've never dated. It simply means they weren't in a committed relationship at the time they were surveyed. Now imagine two friends, Jake and Alex. They're both 21, both in college, and both convinced they're the only single guy in their friend group. Jake scrolls through social media and sees engagement photos, vacation selfies, anniversary dinners, and matching hoodies. His brain quietly concludes, everyone has a girlfriend except me. Alex, meanwhile, rarely opens Instagram. Instead, he actually talks to people on campus. Within a week, he discovers that half the guys he knows are also single, some by choice, some because they're focused on school, and others because dating simply hasn't worked out yet. Same campus, same age, completely different perception. Psychologists have a name for this kind of mistake. It's called the availability heuristic, a concept made famous by Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. Your brain judges what's common based on what it sees most often, not what's actually true. Couples post relationship highlights. Single people usually don't post a photo saying, "Still single this Tuesday." So your social media feed quietly edits reality without asking your permission. And here's another twist that makes these numbers even more interesting. Being single doesn't necessarily mean someone is unhappy or unsuccessful. Researchers consistently find that many young adults today are delaying serious relationships because they're building careers, finishing degrees, improving their finances, or simply enjoying independence. Compared to previous generations, people are reaching major relationship milestones later than ever before. So if being single has become more common, what's actually driving this shift? Is it dating apps, changing priorities, rising standards, social anxiety, economics, or something even bigger? The answer is far more unexpected than most people realize. So why are fewer young men in relationships today than many people expect? The easy answer is to blame dating apps. The more accurate answer is, it's complicated. Dating apps changed the game, but they didn't write all the rules. Think of them like a gym. Joining a gym doesn't automatically make you fit, and downloading a dating app doesn't automatically create a relationship. It simply gives you another place to compete. Take Ethan and Noah, both 23. Ethan spends 2 hours every night endlessly swiping, convinced that one more profile will magically change everything. Noah also uses dating apps, but he spends most of his time hanging out with friends, joining local events, and talking to people in real life. 6 months later, guess who has a girlfriend? Surprisingly, it isn't necessarily the guy with the most matches. Researchers consistently find that many long-term relationships still begin through friends, school, work, hobbies, or shared communities. Technology opened more doors, but real human connection still walks through them. Then there's another factor that almost nobody talked about 10 years ago: expectations. Social media has quietly raised everyone's standards, or at least their perception of what they should expect. Philosopher Alain de Botton has argued that modern love is often shaped by unrealistic fantasies instead of ordinary human reality. We compare our behind-the-scenes lives with someone else's highlight reel. Suddenly, a normal relationship feels boring because it doesn't look like a perfectly edited vacation montage with sunset kisses and drone shots. Economics plays a role too. Compared with previous generations, many people under 25 are dealing with higher housing costs, student loans, and uncertain careers. Studies from a Economists and family researchers have repeatedly shown that financial stability influences when people start serious relationships and move toward long-term commitment. It's hard to plan romantic weekends when you're also calculating whether your paycheck survives until Friday. But here's something fascinating. Being single isn't equally distributed across all young men. The numbers vary depending on education, location, personality, social circles, and even how often someone simply leaves the house. Two people can have similar looks and similar incomes, yet experience completely different dating lives because one regularly meets new people while the other spends every evening alone with YouTube, Discord, and a pizza that's becoming emotionally attached. So who's right? The person saying, dating has never been harder, or the one insisting, just go outside, it's easy? The truth sits somewhere in the middle. Dating has changed, expectations have shifted, and opportunities look different than they did 20 years ago. But statistics also reveal that millions of young men are navigating exactly the same situation at the same time. And that leads to an even bigger question. If so many guys are single, what actually separates those who eventually find lasting relationships from those who stay stuck for years? Here's the part that most people completely miss. The percentage of boys under 25 who have girlfriends isn't a scoreboard, it's a snapshot. Statistics describe one moment in time, not your future. If you freeze a football match at the 30th minute, you still have no idea who wins. Relationships work the same way. A 20-year-old who's single today may be married by 27, while someone who has been dating since high school could be single next year. Life doesn't move in straight lines. Think about Ryan and Chris. Ryan had his first girlfriend at 16. Everyone assumed he'd always have an amazing dating life. By 23, he'd gone through 3 difficult breakups and decided to take a break from relationships altogether. Chris, on the other hand, had never had a girlfriend before turning 24. He spent those years building friendships, finishing college, and becoming more confident. Then he met someone through mutual friends, and they've been together ever since. If you compared them at age 20, you'd bet on Ryan. If you compared them at 28, your answer might be completely different. This is exactly why psychologist Carol Dweck's idea of the growth mindset matters outside school and sports. People who believe social skills, confidence, and communication can improve tend to keep learning after rejection. Those who believe they're simply bad at dating often stop trying long before the story is over. The biggest difference isn't talent, it's whether someone believes today's result is permanent. Another interesting fact is that researchers consistently find women and men often report relationship status differently depending on age, culture, and survey methods. That's why you should be careful with dramatic headlines claiming nobody is dating anymore, or every young woman is taken. Reality is much messier than viral posts make it seem. Good data always comes with context, and context is usually less exciting than clickbait, but much more useful. Now here's a fun thought experiment. Imagine walking into a room with 100 men under 25. Based on recent relationship trends, a significant number of them won't have girlfriends. Some are focusing on university. Some are building businesses. Some recently broke up. Some simply haven't met the right person yet. And a few are happily single because they genuinely enjoy it. From the outside, they all look similar, but each has a completely different story. That's the danger of reducing people to a single percentage. So the next time social media convinces you that every guy your age is living inside a romantic comedy, remember this: algorithms don't show ordinary lives. They show memorable moments. Nobody posts a reel called "Tuesday night, I stayed home, folded laundry, and accidentally ate an entire family-size bag of chips." Yet that's closer to real life than most feeds would have you believe. And after looking at the numbers, the psychology, and the reality behind modern dating, one final question remains. What should you actually take away from all of this? And what does this percentage really mean for your own life? So, what percentage of boys under 25 have girlfriends? The honest answer is fewer than social media makes you believe, and the exact number depends on how researchers define a relationship. But the bigger lesson is that a statistic is not a prediction. Your relationship status today says almost nothing about where you'll be in 5 years. Compare yourself less to carefully edited feeds and more to your own progress. Because in the end, your future isn't determined by a percentage. It's determined by the choices you make after watching this video.